Boom! We're live. It is now, I've called it Mob Programming on Local Support. We're starting actually with debugging. Raj was unable to start a Hangout. Yeah, Raj, you just want to go through the motions? Like, yeah, I can see that you've got the Local Support tab in your
Yeah.
browser. You're in Chrome, which is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I think it's the other tab, isn't it? 3 along from the end. You've already got Local Support in your third tab from the end if you want to avoid. Anyway, you've gone straight there. So you're logged in, and so you've got that. So you're clicking that, yes. So go ahead and click that.
Yeah, if I now start this, it will say you already on.
Indeed, but let's say it's over here.
Yeah, join.
Yeah. Okay, but so basically, so leave that for the moment. But so the next thing that would happen, like before, it was asking you to enter your name.
Now, yeah. Once you click join,
yeah,
it brings a box and says enter your name and create a channel.
Yeah,
oh, really?
it's a YouTube channel. I think that's what it's asking, because if you never started Hangout before, it asks you to create your YouTube channel on Google.
Okay.
And then you just answer these questions. It's connected with your Google account.
Okay.
And then you can start it.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was trying to enter my name and name details there. It wasn't taking anything.
So that screen, that was a normal it was like a browser, and it was sort of a YouTube page, was it? And the YouTube page was asking for details.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. I'm asking you to confirm for me. That's what you, as Yana describes, you that's what you came to. The next page you came to was like it was a YouTube page. Did it have the YouTube logo in the top left corner?
No, I didn't choose create channel because I didn't go that far. I thought, why it's asking me, and then that's where I was stuck.
Yeah, but I think that's the reason that it does that is because if you're hosting one of these Hangouts, it will live stream it to YouTube, and so you kind of need to have a YouTube channel. So you can like click take me there on, or just close that browser window that you're in now. Don't worry about that. Yes, I mean I think that's something. It's a very interesting and important point for us for the whole of Agile Ventures. Is part of the whole open development thing is that we would love to have everything being recorded and everything being stored and archived. But then I think for some people who might want to start the Hangout, they then get taken into these screens and they're like, why am I being asked to? I mean, it would be interesting if you have a chance to do it again. I'd love to if you can take screenshots of exactly what you see.
Yeah, well, what I'll do is I'll just start a chat. Like after this, I'll start a Hangout and see how far I go, and
that would be great. If you can also take as you do it, if you can also take screenshots. What I'd love to do is create like a help document. Or
okay.
To explain to other people why that's happening. A help document's not gonna solve the problem completely. I mean, anyway. I'm getting sidetracked now. So let's that's great. We'll focus on local support. We've got 3 things. This is we're doing a little high level thing. So there's Yana made some progress on the testing and has a question relating to that. Raj is looking at another feature related to feature flags and some questions there. And I'm looking at Zamago's pull request and investigating that. And there's a investigation to do in there. So there's sort of 3 little things that we can investigate. And so maybe what we want to do is like have a little start on each, just so what we know what's going on. I might just maybe start, if it's all right. I'll just tell you what's going on with Zamago's pull request, if that's all right. And I won't spend more than a couple of minutes on it. Let me pop the screen share on. Have I got that up there? Yeah. So this here. Anyway, so this is the pull request that's coming from Zamago. Zamago was in the Agile Ventures General Meeting. We had a bit of a chat on Friday, and so what he's ended up doing is he's removed the functionality relating to WebMock, which was this very precise stubbing of the local support reaching out to other services on the network, in particular the Google geocoder. So he's sort of removed that, and he's switched over to use VCR, this gem, which I know Yana is very familiar with. But Raj, have you heard of the VCR gem?
No.
So this is something I'm quite fond of. Basically, what it does is so the idea of it is a video recorder, tape deck, shows you when the people who are writing this were growing up. But what it does is that it records the interaction between your application and somebody else's through the network. And so, for example, I've got Zamago's thing checked out here. I've got an example. Shall we see here, like of a new file? So, for example, we've got one feature like of I love cats, and what happens? VCR, it intercepts the network request that our application is making. So you can see here a network request going to Maps Google APIs, like so, and it records that request, and then it's able to play it back. So it's used as part of the test suite, and so what it's doing is it's trying to prevent the test suite from making all these network connections. And as we know, we don't want our test suites, going and like that's very bad internet etiquette to have that happening. And so you can, anyway, so that's VCR. So Zamago's put the VCR in there, and what he's also done is he's putting in this other thing called Puffing Billy. And you're like, what the hell is all these things? Puffing Billy is another gem which is very similar to VCR, and it does pretty much the same thing. It does a recording of network connections, but it does it for the browser rather than the server. So, for example, this VCR one here, it's intercepting. This is a request made to the Google Maps API from our server side. But then we also have, if we look in here, there's the YAMLs there. So that's all the different saved interactions. And then we have here these ones. So we've got a Google Analytics hit. So this is actually a request that the client makes, the browser makes, and Puffing Billy does the same thing, and it sort of captures it. So potentially, with the combination of Puffing Billy and VCR, we can completely isolate the running of our test suites from the rest of the network. So I don't know if that makes much sense to you, Raj, and it doesn't have to make much sense, but it's good when you're involved in a project to know about some of the other things that are going on. Does that, any questions or thoughts on any of that?
Not from my side.
Yeah, go on, Raj.
No.
Yeah.
This is new to me, so I still need to know more about.
Yeah. No problem. Anyway, that's just to give you a flavour of what that's going on, and Jana's much more familiar with this since she's been involved in it. I mean, of course, there's a random thing I was going to say about the projects is getting involved in a project. And one of the, we've got, a number of pull requests. It's absolutely fine to stay working on one. To the extent that you want to get more involved in the project, then kind of it's good to be following what the other pull requests and potentially commenting on them and so on. But that's not required. Just as you gain in experience and confidence, that's a good thing to get into. So this is great to have this from Zamago. He's been sort of and then he goes adds the Puffing Billy thing. He's still getting a very small number of failures in the continuous integration system. I've checked his out locally, and I'm getting a few failures locally. And also, there still seems. I mean, the big thing that prompted all of this is that when we run the test suite. So I've just run the Cucumber test suite here. Is we get all of these. You see this we get all of this kind of junk in the Cucumber test suite, and you've probably seen this if you've run the tests. And this is all one of the. I'm not even sure. Is it like the WebMock gem or something? Is basically saying, look, when you're running your test suite, this is the Cucumber, all of these requests are going out, and we can see it's maps and this, that, and the other. And the idea of Puffing Billy is that it's supposed to block all of these things. So it's certainly not doing them for all of them, and we've got some other problems. So the way that I've made comments in the pull request to let Zamago know how it's running on my system, and I'm kind of okay, if I'm going to have time to look at this today, I'm going to start by investigating these errors one by one, and then maybe what I'm going to do is try and run some individual Cucumber tests and try and isolate and possibly eliminate these things. I want to understand better where that's coming from. So that's a quick overview of Zamago's pull request. I don't know if there's. Do we need to say anything more about that at this time?
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And then, Raj, should we have a look at your So you've been looking at this. You've been looking at this. Should we get to the pivotal tracker and look at which feature it was? It was the feature flag.
Feature flag.
Yeah. So now, Jana, the one thing for you here is that you might be thinking, oh, I've got my, question about this thing, and I really want to get into that. And I mean, for me personally as well, I only say that because partly I'm like, oh, I've got this thing I want to dive into here with this. But one of the things in a distributed project is there's a kind of, ongoing, is it tit for tat or quid pro quo? You scratch my back. So by one of the ways in which to get support on your own issues is to reach out and support other people with their things, and you know what I mean, like that. So
yeah, of course, no problem, of course.
So yeah, let's at least let's not try not to dive too deep, but this feature flag thing. Jana, are you familiar with the concept of feature flags?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's this great article by Martin Fowler on. It's also called feature toggle, and basically relates to this ability to have a sort of switch in the database that allows you to switch on and off particular features. So you can deploy the code and make sure that that's all good, and then at a time when the client is happy with it or you're happy with it, you can turn that thing on, or all or some of the users or what have you. But so yes, so Raj, so you've been kind of looking at this issue. Do you want to even actually try and describe to Jana what the chore is? What's the problem that we have?
Yeah, I'll just share my screen here. Here, so this is the chore, which is add migrations for existing feature flags. Now, like we were discussing before, the migration script should contain creating the feature flag and then by default turning them off, so that admin don't have to every time go and switch them off when they are not required, or switch them on. So one option was that, and another option was to put rather than going back on all the migration scripts, changing them, put them in a seeds DB and have code there to create the flag and create a feature flag and kind of disable it in the beginning. So what I've done is I've kind of
I'll just stop you there briefly. I just so for Jana's benefit. So we've got an example here of a feature flag being created in a migration.
Yeah.
And that was actually Jong Min who put that in there. And you're of course familiar with the seeds file. Yeah. But so go on, Raj. It was just
yeah. So what I've gone and done, and I thought that will be the right place. So instead of having to run migration, and instead of that, create the flag and then deactivate at the beginning, because the test where these feature flags are being checked, they check whether it's active or not, and I think in some of the I'm not sure where, but I've seen them turning on when required. So that's what my thinking is. If we can put it there, will that be right place, or as and on when we get new features, we keep adding them here? Is that what the approach should be?
Well, that's one of the things we discussed, wasn't it? I just asked Jana, is the explanation of the chore and the problem making sense to you?
Yes, I think so. It's a new thing. So I'll try to understand what you're saying, but not necessarily 100%. So, but I'm very interested in it. So
yeah. Well, let's I guess let's just dive a little bit into what Raji was saying there. So if you were on your code there, I think what I would say here is that I think when we create the features, they're deactivated by default. So I think we don't necessarily need that second line that you have there, Raj, that says feature deactivate. So I mean, it's maybe a good thing, because it tells the person reading it that that's what we've done, that we've done that.
Okay.
But it I guess in particular for me, the problem with what we have here is it's going to conflict with the existing migration that we have.
Yeah.
So we've got about 6 feature flags, or 5 or 6, and only one of them is actually created in a migration.
Migration. Yeah.
So we've got sort of 5 that aren't created in the migration. I wonder if you guys have a look at my screen, and I go and look.
Sorry, Sam.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, my question is, can they be created differently, or is there kind of best practices on how to create them?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, the answer is, can they be created differently? Is definitely they can be created differently. Okay. In terms of best practice, I have to say that I'm not sure, in that the idea of a feature flag runs across, it's not just a Rails thing. It's a much larger scale thing of all sorts of different things, all sorts of different stacks and so on, and what have you. And so I know that very large companies use them. If we search for Rails feature flags, then you find like sort of a lot of blog posts on these different things. I mean, basically, what seems to me is that there's like a lot of different ways. Like, people have written lots of people have written their own independent feature flag little libraries. Like, this person's got like a rollout thing and so on. I'm not sensing kind of like a consensus on these things. However, I guess actually here, particularly if we've got something with Travis CI, which we use, then that might be so we've got there's a library here. James Gollett's rollout is a popular library. I mean, we ended up building our own one, which I was not necessarily so fantastically happy about. And I think when I see this, I think if Travis is integrated with that particular one, then maybe we should be there. I have to say here, I don't know what the best practice is, in as much as if there are flags in the database, when should you? I mean, we've got certain things that are maybe peculiar to the way we happen to have implemented them, so we're a bit off piece there. I mean, it's the sort of thing that we have trouble with in the project, is that I'm always kind of encouraging people to not reinvent the wheel and to use existing systems. But it's a volunteer project and people do what they want, and people are often like, it's kind of, they want the practice of making something for themselves. So this thing was I mean, it's still taken from the the top level concept, but it's been implemented in a particular way in which we kind of have a table. I mean, I was just going here. This is the production database here, and you can see. Can I just get that in? There we go. This doesn't look very nice. I can just do Clark's name, can't I? There we go. So this is the 4 feature flags that we have on production. And these are kind of in a table, and they can be set to be active or inactive. So we end up with a situation that as you kind of go through the current deploy mechanism, if someone does a new feature like this one, then I mean, I got into trouble, as I usually do, in terms of rolling out this feature of, I had to kind of like log into the production server and create the flag manually, and there's the danger. And I've got, actually, I got the name wrong the first time around because it had changed in one pull request to another, and so I ended up not being able to display the thing to the client on the time that I wanted to because of that slip. So as a result of that, I encouraged Jongmin to put the at least create the feature in the migration. And I would say, at least for the way we have implemented feature flags, that's definitely the best policy going forward. So, for example, we haven't got a feature flag for the do-it volunteers, but we might argue that perhaps we should have. And it's easy to add one, later. Well, we can certainly worry about getting it all working first. But if at some point we say we want a feature flag with the do-it thing, I would certainly say let's add a migration so that it's stored in the database with the right name first. That seems like very, very sensible. The question now, and that's what comes out in this thing for Raj, is that okay? So we can do that. What I would call best practice going forward. Certainly best practice described as our project and the way we've implemented it. There's then the question of, well, when other developers check out the LocalSupport project and they install it, they notice that certain things are missing. I mean, I think you might have gone through this process yourself. You noticed, like, when you first ran it locally, that the volunteers thing wasn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of confusing for the people. It's like, well, what do I do? And then they have to find out about feature flags, and they have to get those settings put in there. And so it would be nice if we kind of automatically set those features up for the new developers. Would you agree? So one thing we could do is we could go back and we could add that feature creation thing to the appropriate. So we've got the thing where we create the volunteer ops table. So we could have something in here like, and in fact it would be, I think it's these two. We could have these two features which relate to this, thing. They could be being introduced here. Yeah, does that make sense, Jana? Now, this in itself is a little bit of bad practice because you probably shouldn't be going back to old. In general, you should not be going back to old migrations and adjusting them because that sort of kind of prevents the ability to roll backwards and forwards cleanly through the migrations.
Yeah, and sorry for the stupid question, but
not at all. There are no stupid questions.
Can I run an old migration? Will Rake run it if it was already run before and I change it? Will Rake see it and run it or not?
It will not. It will not. As long as we do not change the name of the migration, then it will not be run again. Yeah?
Okay.
And actually, if you think about it, that's the behavior that we want, because on the production server, these already exist.
Yeah.
So what we don't want is if we rolled this out to the production server and then it would try and run it again. Yeah. So, I mean, there's this, we're kind of safe in that regard. But these migrations, although these migrations are very, occasionally we will roll backwards and forwards over one or two migrations on the production server, but that's pretty rare. However, the situation in which all of the migrations are run is when a new developer is getting set up with the whole project.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the situation. If we had those, I guess what I'm thinking about for the future of the project is that what we want to do is we want the previous migrations to show the best practice, which is that if you have a migration, if you have a feature flag associated with some changes, make sure that gets added to the feature table at that point so that it's there and it's clear what everybody's doing. And then, of course, now, if this happens, what that will mean is, it's not going to affect the production server because these have already been created. It's having these here. The win, I think, for the new developers is it means that the new developers will not have to create these by hands. It's one less thing for them to do, which I think is probably a good thing. And then what I would probably say is that in order to make it, I think, maximally straightforward for the new developers, I mean, again, we have this this issue of, well, they need to fall over and they need to hurt themselves, and in the first instance, you want people getting set up and all sorted as quickly as possible. But if we put then the activation of those features in the seed file,
okay,
then what that means is like if we had this set up now, just as regards the feature flags related to volunteering. If we made these two changes, then this would have no effect on the production server because this migration's name has not changed. It will not be run again. And the seeds thing is never run on the production server. But where these two things are both run is for new developers. So if we had, oh no, I've broken it. No, don't, that's what it's doing. Sorry. No, don't stop. It's got a mind of its own. Oh goodness. Okay, sorry. Is if we have these two things in place, then when a new person gets set up with the project, they'll run the migrations, which will create the relevant features, and then when they run seeds, all of those features will be turned on.
Cool.
Yeah, and so yeah, that's what I'm thinking is probably. I'm kind of convincing myself that's maybe the best way to go. Is that making sense to you, Raj? How are you feeling about all of this?
Yeah, that means then we go back to all the migrations and put this feature create in those new migrations. Is it possible to create just a feature RB, just like seeds,
Yeah, I mean, we could have a separate file that just did it. I'm slightly suspicious of that because that's then, I think, a person with some Rails experience, might look back to, when we were creating the volunteer ops,
we haven't done, yeah.
We've done that. Oh, and those are the features that are associated with it. Whereas if we have a separate features file, that's kind of again more custom stuff on our part.
Okay.
Will they know where to look? It could work out. I mean, I think the particular thing is that, we only have these 4, and so then we've got an automate propose org, and then if I can just work out which is the place, did we have a migration associated with that? Boom, 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 boom. The proposed organizations. We did add, add deleted, proposed, add accepted and archived, proposed organization, add user reference, create proposed organizations. There we go. And so, yeah, I'm kind of thinking that that's the complete set of things there.
Yeah.
If we have, and then that should be. I don't know if that's even right. There's also this thing about using the change thing versus we've got change and then we've got down. But yeah. But so I'm thinking. So if we pull that one, what's that one there? And we put that in the seed. So then and it's not necessarily that we would all have these, but these are all things that are activated on the main site.
Yeah.
So in order for, I think any time that for the developer, if they're sort of they've seen the kind of site, the main site, and then they we're right there with phones and things. If the developer sees the main site and they download the system and then they run it and they do an installation, but then there are differences between their site and the live site, they're kind of like, huh, what's going on? So we should try and have it so that once someone has followed the installation steps for the project should be as it appears on the main site. Would that make sense to you, Jana?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I mean, I was agonizing about whether we should be putting these things in here or not. But I think I've kind of, through talking to you about it, I've kind of convinced myself this is the way to go. How is this sounding to you, Raj?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So we changed both like migrations and put these activate in seeds file. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I kind of what I've done here is I've kind of found the places for you. So if I come in, let's have a look here. What have we got in the status? I can, if I check out develop here, yeah. So I've got these 3 changes. What I could just do here is I can check out -b, and I can just create a little branch that maybe you can take a copy of.
Yeah.
So if you're going to Pivotal, so this was the. I'm just going to get the ID of the thing here. So I'm going to click the branch. So this is add existing feature flags to migrations and seeds. And then I'll do git diff there to see those. And I might have done some of these wrong, or but I guess for the purposes of speed, what I will just do is I'll just check those in. And so this is adds existing feature flags. I want to write a little script that basically gives the same name of the branch and does the commit message and just does it all in one, so I don't have to type it out 3 times. Migrations and seed file, and then we should do fixes number this, like that. And then if I do git push origin like this, now what will happen is that branch will come up and be available on the local support project. So what you can do, Raj, is if you want to do a git. So have you set your upstream branch?
Yeah. One is.
So if you do git fetch upstream, you should get that branch. If you have the branch name, so have a look. Branches. Like so. That's the branch. I'll just pop that in Slack. Oh, and actually, in fact, I was about to pop it in Slack, but it looks like the our Gitbot bot has already put the link in there into the Slack if you want it. But so anyway, so I mean, I guess we don't have to get into that now. You can pull out that branch and kind of inspect it and potentially end up making a pull request. But the work that remains to be done is to try out this process by kind of, starting up a new version of the project from that branch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's something that still requires, a little bit of work and might involve, for example, like where I've done that delete, I've quickly just written the syntax in a few places. There might be some little errors in the way that I've written it out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess are we? So we can maybe move on from your thing, Raj, and we can have a look at Jana's thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So Jana, did you want to share your screen and we'll have a look at? I mean, you say you found the source of the problem.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see the code. You just show the code to me where the way in which you resolved the problem.
Yes. So our feature test. Just 1 second, I'll find. Yeah. So the thing was we created this do it volunteer feature. So I need to check out probably because that's what I was playing with. It's not a final version. It's what I was already doing. Just playing with it to find an error. So well, first of all, what we did first is we stopped the. Oh come on! It's a new version. Let me restart. Sublime is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sorry.
No problem. The same thing happens to me.
It's so just to show the version that we discussed on Friday. So here it's that's why, because I checked out in the wrong one. Sorry, I was awfully not prepared. Git check out. So now we had in our webmock here, as you might remember, we had empty body.
Right.
And then in our volunteer opportunities, we made this cucumber thing. And one of the steps was given API responses received and not empty.
Mm-hmm.
And in step definition, we did this one.
Mm-hmm.
Responses received and not empty, and here body is a real message.
Right, right.
So our hope was that this one will rewrite this stub for that we made here. But obviously it didn't work out.
Well, you say obviously, you have a hypothesis that was the cause of the problem, but so you tested that hypothesis by adding the message in here, for example, or how did you prove to yourself that was the source of the problem?
Yes, that's what I did. I deleted this, I took this message, I took this stub actually, and I put it here. And I put it here. So first, and then as you advised, what I also did, I took a working test. I took a working one from here. TMAP with current volunteer opportunities. So I just copy pasted this one to here, and then was looking how it behaves. And when I did it, and when I run the test now, hopefully when I do it,
I noticed that you haven't saved the things that you just changed in Subble, and also in the webbox.rb, when you copied and pasted that new stub in, you overwrote the two existing things, and there was also like a before operation on that, which I don't know, might be important. So you've got them.
Yeah, and I also let me check. So in here, from here, I take this stub, and I try not to ruin anything with Google API. So yeah, and before here.
But yeah, that certainly makes sense. That if that if it still had an empty body, then none of the markers would show up because it wouldn't create.
Yes. So the problem was that it wasn't picking up this stub. It was picking up the stub from support webmock file.
Right. And so when you made that change, the test passed.
Yes. When I did what I just did, it didn't pass. But if you remember, there was like expect to find CSS, and there was no match found.
Oh, okay.
But now it's 18 matches found.
Oh, okay, and there's 18 volunteers coming back, so it suggests that at least that one, although this didn't pass, that one bug had been resolved.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Great.
So, and the thing here is when I did from map, when I copied it, I took, of course, I also copied the given part, background and given, because another thing is that when it creates markers, create markers in our volunteer opportunity controller. Now it has one variable markers, and it adds haro markers to do it markers. And if I don't do this background and don't create in our database at least a couple of organizations, then haro markers will be empty. And then these markers will have a wrong syntax. It will be like square bracket, then comma, then do it markers.
Right.
So it's all a bit messy now, but at least I think I understand what the problem was, and at least now it finds this kind of 18 markers. So 2 of them are haro markers from here, and the rest are do it markers. So my question now, I just I played with it a little bit on Friday evening after our discussion.
Yes.
And then I found this thing, and I thought I will start doing it properly on Monday. And I just now I don't know how to proceed actually, because one thing, I can make this stop here like this with real body with message. But then all tests will fail because there will be more than they expect, more than 2 opportunities on page, more than they expect. Because in all tests, if you see here, it's like I should see the following wallop markers on the map, and it's again this class wallop, and it expects to see just 2 markers, but they will be like 18. So, and my question is, I can try to work on the old strategy and to make an empty body for all tests and try to stop properly for new tests. Or I can stop the real message here, because that's what VCR probably will do, and I think we are moving into the direction with VCR.
Yes.
So that's what VCR will do. But then I need to decide what to do with old tests.
Yes. Well,
so,
yes, go on.
Yeah, my kind of, one of my ideas were that I can completely separate how we build hero, well, not completely, but separate how we build hero and do it markers, for example, by doing this class here like this, like doing type here.
Yes.
If you remember, we already.
Yeah, totally.
And then in tests, I will just change it to wallop hero or wallop do it.
Yes.
So it will look for CSS of particular for particular marker.
Yeah.
So that's where I am now, and I think I need advice. What's the best route? How is best to proceed?
Well, I like what you've just done there with changing the class based on the thing. That seems like that seems pretty good to me. I like that. Before you had mentioned that, what I had been thinking was you could even be using a feature flag, so that I mean, we've got the situation here where the tests sort of that are specific to the do it. If we had a feature flag in place, and then as what some of the things that happen in the tests are, they some of the background steps for some of the tests say, given that a particular feature is enabled. So that would be another way to go that would connect to our earlier look at feature flags, and that would also allow us. I think it would be kind of nice to have a feature flag, and that would mean that we can deploy the code and so on and get it out there, and then be able to switch it on and off. And we can switch it on in production if there's a problem. Oh no, we can switch it back off again. So it's probably, particularly with this kind of feature, it's probably a good idea to have a feature flag. And that, I mean, I'm kind of torn now, because the way that you mentioned adjusting the CSS thing, that seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. But I guess, I'm starting to think, maybe.
But maybe what you're suggesting is better with feature flag, because technically in the code, these CSS classes they are absolutely same. So there's no reason from the coding purposes to divide these classes, at least for now, because they are same.
So maybe the feature flag. I mean So I think, I mean, that promotes an interesting line of attack, in that, based upon your earlier description of the issues that you encountered, which I think I hadn't understood properly, I was thinking, maybe we need to finish this VCR thing first. But particularly since the VCR thing has these outstanding problems, I mean, I'm now, depending upon people's availability today, I might say, going forward now, Yana and Raj, you could work together on the feature flag thing.
Yeah.
Like Raj is one, and depending on your availability, and then having done that, and that should be a relatively simple one, comparatively speaking. It should, although you never know, as we saw on Friday, didn't we, Yana? You never know when there's something's gonna.
Yeah.
But then you could, and again, if you could, having completed that, Yana, you could work with Raj to introduce a new feature flag into the do it volunteer thing, and I think that there's a nice symmetry there. you know, you've both got a bit of expertise in those two areas, and you could be kind of swapping, you know, mind sharing on those two things. Just an idea. I guess that all depends on. But other, I mean, you know, I could be pairing with people on things, or I mean, I'm kind of intrigued to look at, you know, more detail on Zmago's thing. But so what's I guess looking forward, Jana and Raj, what's your availability? Maybe neither of you are free for pairing today. What's your availability?
Yeah. Sorry, Raj.
Yeah, I'm available. I can work with you from say 11:30.
So you're free from 11:30.
11:30 the rest of the day. Yeah.
For the rest of the day. And how about you, Jana?
Yeah, I also need a couple of hours to do stuff at home. So maybe if we could start either 12 or maybe even after lunch, because I just need to finish some things.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
That sounds
yeah,
good.
we can,
or if you can work on your feature and I can join you at some point. I don't know. I can Slack you.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
yeah, that sounds good.
That sounds good. I mean, I think, yeah, that sounds great. What I'd almost say is actually, Raj, what you could do, relating to the other thing we started off on today, is you could set up your YouTube channel. And so at 11:30, when you're ready, you could post the Hangout link. You could set it up. And then Jana or I will see the Hangout link go through in Slack.
Yeah.
And we'll say, and if we're free, we'll jump in and say, hi, how's it going?
Exactly.
And you'll be able to record your work on it, or, you know, whatever you fancy.
Yeah, sure.
In the meantime, I'm probably gonna have a cup of tea, and I'll work on Zmago's, you know, Puffing Billy VCR testing thing there. If we're very lucky, I might be able to get that into a clean state before you guys are working on it later on. But yeah, that sounds like quite a good plan, guys. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, great. Let's unless there are any other questions, let's wrap it up there. And yeah, I mean, I will, you know, either see you briefly before lunch. If not, you know, I'll again, particularly if you're using those Hangouts, then I'll be easily be able to drop in on you after lunch. Problem. But yeah, just you know, shout out on Slack if you need particular help.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Great.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Bye for now.